When you're in a relationship,
Yeah.
and you say, you know what, I'm going to be disciplined, I'm going to work hard at this, even when you know it's not the right fit, you've put in time, 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you're like, you know what, I'm just going to keep going and make it better. I'm going to try my best to cultivate the love. But for some reason, that relationship, deep down, isn't the one.
Mm-hmm.
And you say goodbye to that relationship. Is that you just saying, well, on to the next, there's another option out there? Mm-hmm. How do you know when it is the right one?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a good question. I think a couple things. One, when you're in a situation, the premise of the book, as it relates to love, is really we got to start telling the truth. And a lot of times, especially in a relationship sense, it becomes a place where we tell the least truth.
You hide the truth.
You hide the truth.
Because you don't want to hurt someone.
You don't want to hurt someone. You may have feelings or thoughts. You may have things. And also, sometimes in a relationship, you can be afraid. If I tell this person the truth, it doesn't even mean the truth that I'm not into them. It could be like, I'm really into you. Or it could be like, here's some things I'm thinking about. The question sometimes is where the fear comes in is judgment. If I tell this person my truth, will they judge me? Will they still like me? Will they still love me? Will they still, be there for me? Yeah. And so a lot of times, whether you're a man or a woman in a relationship, you bring that fear into it. And so as a result, sometimes that fear works against being truthful. Yeah. So a lot of times in a relationship, you're more truthful with people outside the relationship than you are with the person in the relationship.
Telling other people outside
totally.
Everything that's happening.
Everything is, and you're not telling your partner. And this is why, as men and women, we've got to start communicating with one another instead of at one another. And so I really wanted to write this book to help foster more truth. So to the point you're bringing up, if you're in a situation where you're with somebody and you're not sure it's the right fit, here is the number one way to begin to identify if it is operating in lust or if you're operating in love. It's peace. Our peace.
You feel peace.
That's
inside.
right. Our peace is the strongest barometer. It's our compass. Yeah. So it tells us we're going in the right direction. We're going with the right person in the right direction. Yeah. Or you know what? I'm going in the right direction, but something about doesn't feel like this is the person that's supposed to go with me. Right? It's really about peace. That's where and everyone has the opportunity to define what that means for them. But to me, that's a great way to identify, is this the right person I'm dealing with? So then let's say you don't have peace. The truth is, I need to tell that person as soon as possible, here's what I'm really going through. Here's why. Especially as a man.
As soon, don't wait 3 months, 6 months.
Why? Because here's what happens. As a man, the moment you start to know, this ain't it. This ain't it. Here's what happens. The more you do not tell her the truth about how you're feeling, either she's going to cry now, she's going to cry later. And when she cries later, you've inflicted more pain. I believe as a man, we're going to be one of two men that heal pain or inflict pain.
Wow.
And that truth, as hard as it may be, and as much as she may not want to hear it, it's better for her to hear it early on, before she can have more emotional investment, than to hear it later and you knew 6 months ago you were out of there.
Yeah.
Part of telling the truth is to say, listen, I love you. When I operate in love, I put someone else's needs over my needs. I'm thinking about someone else's thoughts, even sometimes before my thoughts, someone else's well-being. So in a dating sense, as a man, you're like, hey, I need you to know what I'm really feeling here, so that we can just have an honest conversation. Like, I don't want to feel this way. I don't know why I'm feeling this way, but I don't know if this is just the right fit, and and do your best to articulate that. It's better to put it all out on the table. Yeah. Then, there you go. 6 months later, 7 months later, something happens, and then sometimes I've been there when I was single. You wait for something to happen, then to use that as the excuse.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
To say, oh, well, it's because this happened. Yeah, well, no, that's not because of that. Because if there was really love and there was a long-term plan there, you could work through that, right? Yeah. But too often, I feel like as men, we hold on to what we think. And I think women do that too, because they're afraid. So I think when you go into this idea of like, okay, well, how do you date in love? How do you date in mastery? It doesn't mean you can't explore. It doesn't mean you can't find the right fit. This is all about a journey. So love, when you're trying to find the compatibility, you're searching, right? We all find that journey. However, it's dating with more intent. It's dating with more intent. So what does that look like? It looks like, and again, this is just what I believe will help us as men, especially in a dating sense. Think beyond sex. Think beyond sex.
How do you teach men to do that when that's all they've been conditioned to think?
Well, here's how. Because again, instead of looking at that woman as an object for your pleasure, look at her as an individual. Look at her as someone's sister, someone's mother, someone's daughter, someone's friend. Humanize her in your mind. It doesn't mean, listen, if you choose not to wait until marriage to have sex with that person, that's your business. But so often men look at women first as a sexual object, not as an individual. And as a result, when a woman most of the time says, hey, you know what, I don't want to have sex, or I want to wait or whatever, a lot of men say, all right, well, I'm moving on to the next. If a woman does not want to have sex or share her body with you because she does not trust you, she does not know you, she does not love you, that's a sign of a great woman, not a woman that should be discarded.
Wow.
And so as a man, when you're single and you're discarding women because they don't want to share their body, that's a warning sign to me. Hey,
about you as a
that's
man.
right. What's going on with you, bro? Why are you on such a path for personal, selfish, lustful fulfillment that you are discarding potential women that could help make the difference in a positive way in your life?
Wow.
So for any man, it's about, hey, let me look in the mirror for a minute and just stop. Why? Because look at what's going on in the world. There's so much news about, the challenges that men are facing. And why are so many men facing all these challenges? Because I believe most men have given themselves over to lust. They've given themselves over to this selfish fulfillment where they want what they want, whenever they want it, however they want it. And as a result, they become the sum total of what that lust makes them. So as a man, no man can turn a blind eye towards what's going on with men in the world. So if anything, allow what we're seeing in the world to then be a motivator for every individual man.
Yeah.
Who do I want to be? Am I inadvertently living in a way where I may meet the same fate of some of the same men that I'm seeing in the world, right? Because it's not like, oh, point the finger, oh, look at them, oh, I would never become that. Wait a minute. The moment any of us as men say, oh, I would never.
You might.
Set the watch,
5 years, yeah.
right? Because all of us have the same struggle. Yeah. All of us struggle between love and lust. And the issue is getting control, getting discipline, getting mastery to the degree where I don't believe we could ever eradicate lust. I don't believe that. And that's a truth most women don't want to hear, right? But I believe that is the truth. Lust is in every man, no matter who that man is, no matter
how faithful you are,
no matter how faithful,
spiritual.
It's there. It's not even a reflection of the woman in his life at all. However, as men, when we learn to get control of it, when we learn to put love in control of lust, that's when we position ourselves to not allow that lust to destroy us.
A couple of things I want to ask from this.
Yeah.
You are a successful man in Hollywood. You've been married for how long now?
7 years, almost.
7 years. Two-part question. The first part is, do you know any successful men in Hollywood who are not married and who have multiple partners? Do you see any of them that are successful in their career but also have that inner peace that you talked about a few minutes ago?
I don't see many successful men that are living according to how you just outlined, that have the peace.
They might have the fun.
They have the fun. They have the money, the position,
the girls.
all of that. But I would not say that the men that fit the description that I've been privy have that peace, where there's just a sense of like, okay, you know what? I'm cool. I'm competent. I'm here. This is what it is. A lot of times, and I believe that if any man is really honest with themselves, I don't believe the more women you have, the more peace you get. I think it actually
more
disrupts.
chaos.
More chaos. Think about it. It's like, as a man, at the end of our life, when you think about how much time you spend, with women, chasing women, spending money on all those things, you got to ask yourself, what do we have to show for it?
Yeah.
And so for me, prior to getting married, I had to ask the same question: what do I have to show for all this? And I wasn't like when Megan and I started dating that I was like all of a sudden ready to get married. I wasn't. But what I did was, a friend of mine encouraged me, don't be afraid. Don't allow your fear to mess this up.
Afraid of what? Commitment, marriage,
just
all of it. Committed.
The unknown.
Because you were dating other girls before then, you were having fun,
but I was dating with intention. I was dating saying, hey, here's where I am in life, here's what I'm looking to do, so that there was no lack of clarity with anyone that was dating me where I was. And I talk about this in the book. It's so important. I'll talk about it for the male side and the female side. For men, it's important because what happens is lust makes us a part-time manipulator in a single sense.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? It means that you're dating multiple women. Those women don't really know that there's as many other women as there are. And they don't even know that you're not as serious as you seem to be when you're with them.
Because your intention is for sexual desire.
Sexual desire, needs. Companionship in that moment, whatever your pleasure is in that moment.
It's not for long term.
There's no long term, and at the same time, there's no regard for their real feelings. It's like, this is a woman that I may date on Tuesday, here's someone I may date on Thursday, here's a woman I may date on Saturday night. And none of them really know the other one exists. So that's what I mean about not dating with intention. So when you're dating with intention, you're letting everybody know, listen, here's where I am, here's what I'm doing. Very, very important. As a man, I encourage any single man to if you really want to become successful in life, and success to me is nothing to do with what happens in the world. Success is to me peace.
The inner world.
It's the inner world. Success
Absolutely,
is
me too.
who is the person that looks back at you in the mirror. And there is where success starts and where it stops. We see a lot of men who have public success but no personal success.
Yeah.
And there used to be a time where that was okay. But now real success starts, with who's looking back in the mirror. Mm-hmm. So I would ask any man, if you are finding yourself dating multiple women for multiple women's sake, why? Just stop to ask the question, why are you doing it? And what is the real value that you're getting out of it? Do you find yourself with this insatiable appetite that no one person can ever quench? And as a result, there's no peace within your spirit. Super important. The second part of that is that if you find yourself saying, hey, you know what? I am going to get more discipline here, but I still want to explore. Okay, explore with intention. Let the woman know what your intentions are. So then they, as an adult, mm-hmm. can make the decision if they want to engage with you. Mm-hmm. That, to me, is what real honesty and transparency looks like. Right. Now, for a woman, if you're dating a man, you've got to get out of the gray area. You've got to get out of the gray area. And what does this mean? Right? That's right. But that gray area is the area where you are most liable. Because in a relationship sense, the one who has the most knowledge, has the most power. And a lot of times, men have more power because they know what they're really serious about and what they're not, and the woman that they're dealing with does not know. That's a gray area. He may text you all the time. He may talk to you all the time. You may go out on a date. You may have met his parents, but never has he told you we're together.
Right. Or he's thinking about commitment.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so for a woman in that situation, she's in a gray area. Mm-hmm. And I encourage her in the book, you got to get out of the gray. You got to ask clear, direct questions, wait for clear, direct answers so that the man that you're dealing with, you get a sense of, are you dating anyone else? Are we committed? Are we exclusive? What are your plans? Where are you going? Don't be afraid to ask the questions, because so often when women come to me for advice, they're afraid, well, what if I ask him these questions and he leaves? Well, he was going to leave anyway.
That's good.
That's great.
Right.
That's great.
I mean, here's the thing. I've dated women in the past who, they're almost so honest in the beginning. It's like, oh my gosh, you're like pushing me away because I'm like, this is not where I'm at in my life. Like, you're talking about kids in the first 5 minutes. I'm like, I just want to have fun right now. Yeah. But then there's other women who are that honest where you're like, wow, I'm actually really interested in you. This is kind of scary that you're so honest. Yeah. But I'm gonna keep exploring because I like you and I'm that interested in you and I want to learn more.
Yeah. No,
I think the more honest you are in the beginning, maybe you don't have to say in 5 minutes, I want to have 5 kids. But I think almost the more truthful you can be earlier on, the better, because you can start to eliminate those people or know exactly where they're going to be at.
Well, yeah, you get a better sense of what's what. And I also encourage women. I say, listen, have an observation period in dating.
What's that mean?
Meaning, don't just rush into when you're dating somebody, telling this particular man all of the stuff you want, you don't even know if you're going to like this person.
Right.
And sometimes it's like just on that, like you said, on that first date, they're like telling, oh, here's what I want to do, No.
Chill. Yeah.
Observe.
Yeah.
See if this man is even worthy of knowing what you think. See if this man is even worthy of knowing your plans and how you see your future.
How will you know if he's worthy of knowing?
Because you're going to spend time, you're going to evaluate, you're going to see who he is. And this is why, listen, I know in this modern world, what I'm getting ready to say is just uncommon, but I don't care.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to say it. This is why it's so important. I'd say in this book, I believe it's important to wait until marriage for sex, but most people aren't going to do that. I say in this book, at least wait until you're in a trusted, committing, loving relationship before you have sex. Why? Because when you have sex with someone and you do not know them and you do not trust them, it becomes hard to really get clear on who they are and what they're about. So important. So as a woman, I'm like, listen, if I was a woman and I was dating, oh, you ain't getting nothing from me. Why? Because I don't know you. I was at Facebook on the book tour, and this woman asked me a question and during our Q&A. And so I said this to her, man, and she said, she was asking me a question about sex and whatnot. And I said, so let me just give you an analogy. How many women in the audience, after a month of dating a guy, would you give him the code to your phone?
The code, your passcode.
Yeah, and most of them said, no, there's no way. A month? Are you kidding me? I said, okay, now listen, I'm not trying to get in your business. I'm not going to judge you. I said, but in that same period of time, in previous relationships, how many of you in that same period of time have already given him your body?
90%.
I mean, so if you don't trust him enough to give him the code to your phone, why would you give him your body?
Wow.
So this is when, when you don't give a man your body, right, it gives you a better opportunity to observe and evaluate, what does he really want? Is he even really interested potentially in who I am, what I think, or is he just interested in what my body can give him? Mm-hmm. That's what I say about an observation period, so that you can really see who this man is, what he's about, and really where he's going.
Yeah.
And I believe that women have a lot more power in dating than they realize, but a lot of times they give it away.
So much power.
But they give it away. They give it away to men. It's like, no, hold on to that power. Evaluate. Make decisions. Even if you want to be in a relationship super bad, don't allow your flesh and your desire to then make you so desperate that you lower your standard to the degree where you're allowing men entry into your life that really are not qualified for sex.
What if the woman just wants to have fun and they're not looking for a committed relationship either? Then
you know what? Listen. I'm not going to judge what consenting adults want to do. If that's her point of view, that's her point of view.
Yeah.
And that just is what it is. And at a certain point, when she's doing the same thing and wants a different result, it'll require looking at what she's doing to get the result. Gotcha. Same for any man.
Exactly.
When any man gets to a place where he's like, I keep doing the same thing, I get a different result. Maybe I have to change what I'm doing.
Yeah, I might be having fun, but I feel soulless inside, or I feel like I'm not having true intimacy, or
I'm not having, exactly.
lacking the partnership that I really want.
Totally.
By having this fun.
Exactly.
Now, are there any men in Hollywood? Again, I don't want you to say names or anything, but are there any men in Hollywood that you know who've been married for a long period of time that are just so happy? They've been married for 10, 15, 20 years.
Yes.
And they're just like so happy that they feel zero desire for other women. Do you know any of that?
Well, now hold on. I see, again, I'm going to say something that's probably crazy that most women don't want to hear. I don't believe there's any man on this planet in a marriage that has zero desire for another woman.
Yeah.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
It just becomes a question of managing that desire.
The discipline.
Yeah, totally. And saying, there's a desire here, but whatever. It is what it is. It'll pass. I love my wife. I'm not going to do that. Boom. But in terms of Hollywood, I think that there's no exception there. But I do know men, yes, that are married, that are happy.
Happily married.
That are, happily married, love their wives, love being married, even with all the challenges that there are and the temptations. That is not, there are a lot of men that I know that fit that description, where they have not fallen into temptation, no matter what desires they may have, because they love their wife and they love their life so much.
And from your point of view, you think that these men who've been married for 10 plus years, who've been faithful and committed, or maybe they've had some slip-ups or whatever, but they're in the marriage, they're happy, they're committed. You believe that those men are going to be more successful in life than men who are not married or not committed in a relationship, because the people that are not committed are lacking the inner peace as much?
Here's what I feel. I feel like, that going back to that battle between love and lust, right? And love being selfless. And I believe as men, one of our biggest challenges is we don't know how to love. Right. We don't know how to love ourselves. We don't really know how to love the women in our lives. We don't know how, because we don't know how to give love. We don't know how to receive love. And this is an area where most men struggle. And it's actually the area, no matter how successful in the world or publicly a man may be, without love, I do feel that man is deficient. Because love is the name of the game. Love is what this is all about. It really is. It's what life's about. It's not about the money. It's not about the power. It's not about the fame. It's not about the success. It's about love, period. Because at the end of the day, you can pass on to your children or pass on to the next generation money. You can pass on influence. But if you don't pass on love, those children will be deficient.
Wow.
Right? Those children will become dysfunctional. It's love. And so as a man, when I decide I'm not going to open myself up to love, I don't believe I can ever reach my fullest potential as a human being. So it's not so much that the institution of marriage makes men better in and of itself. It's that institution which fosters that love and vulnerability, because I believe our vulnerability leads to our victory, not the opposite way. And so as men, we have to really work against the training that we get, which is like, growing up, love makes us weak. You're soft, right? The whole box that we're taught as men to live in, and when we don't live in that box, we're either met with violence or put downs and whatnot. So most men growing up, if we don't fit the box of every man is strong and every man has the answers and every man has women, every man has power, if we don't fit that box, most of the time growing up, we're told, stop crying, stop being a wimp. So the box breaks us. So what do we as men do? Anything that does not contribute to our survival, we suppress. So we may want to say, yo, what's up, bro, man, love you, man, you good, but we don't do that. Because we're taught growing up, yo, if you don't say, I love you, are you crazy? So we hold it in, right? And then we just try to do everything we can to survive. So we try to subscribe to everything in the box, but secretly we know there's something off. So to me, when you have a man that is choosing not to open himself up to love, I would argue because that's happening because that man has had a deep hurt in his life that he is not yet willing to process and face and get healing over, right? It's like, okay, either it's something with a parent or a previous relationship. You know, I think that's also one of the truths about men is we're more sensitive than most people realize.
Yeah, very.
You know, and there's a lot of times men have gotten their heart broken so bad at one point in time. It was so painful. They have no desire to ever go do that again. But I believe we are naturally predisposed to love. But as men, we have to work against the cultural and societal conditioning in order to do that. And I believe when we do it, we are happier. We live longer. We are more peaceful. So I do think a man certainly can adjust to life without a woman, without love. But do I think the fullest life is when we find the right person that we can walk through life with? I do. Yeah. Because I think love is what it's all about.
That's true. I do too. It's interesting you said that. You know, men can go through extreme heartbreak, and I think I'm going to generalize this, but I feel like men in general have not learned how to deal with their emotions.
Yeah.
And so when an extreme emotional attack is against us, it's like a bomb explodes.
Totally.
Where it can be horrible for women too. I mean, it can be heartbreaking. It can take a year or two to like recover in a breakup. It could hurt really bad. But I feel like in general, women are able to express their emotions with other girlfriends more, their family members, and at least talk about their feelings. Yeah. Whereas men, they get heartbroken, it could break you physically.
Because we don't talk about it.
That's it.
We hold it in. We suppress it.
That's it.
Oh man, I talk about this in the book. You know, anything we suppress, we empower. We empower it to destroy us.
Really?
Seriously. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. We got to start talking. We got to start being honest. We got to start communicating. We got to start. I have a whole chapter in this book called Create a Safe Space, where we have at least one other person that we can talk to, that we can tell what's really going on, and we can do it without fear of judgment.
Yeah.
Because as men, you know, I remember my early 20s. You know, I got my heart broke, man. Oh man. Oh,
it's like life was over.
It was over. Forget about it. I'm done. Okay.
Yeah.
And a lot of, but then you don't want to go to anybody and tell them that you know you're as messed up because people are going to judge you and
suck it up,
and all that.
Get back out there.
That's right. Oh, it's fine. There's plenty of the fish in the sea. Well, no, I wanted that fish. I didn't get her.
Right.
And so I talk about in the book. It's important for us to no longer suppress. Because that suppression, it builds that pressure within us. And why do we feed lust? Because then lust becomes an outlet. Lust becomes a relief to the pressure that we're not acknowledging and the stress that we're really feeling internally. We find a vice. There's a whole chapter in the book called The One You Feed. You know, so either you're feeding love or you're feeding lust.
Wow.
And vices feed the lust. Virtue feeds the love. And so as men, think about how much of this world is designed to feed vice, to feed men vice.
Everything,
man.
Every time you turn your phone
oh my
on,
goodness,
drive
dude.
down the street.
Oh my goodness, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And so as men, we then have to practice mastery, which is the practice of love, where we become smarter. We become to realize, oh, got it. This world is actually not predisposed for me to become as successful as I can be. So I have to look at things through a different lens. So I have to say, oh, got it. There are traps set up every day for me to fall into vice. Every day, every man. I'm not pointing the finger, I'm saying every man. Just open up Instagram.
You.
You know what I mean? It's like, yo, okay, man, listen, if I don't manage Instagram, Instagram's gonna manage me, all right? So I gotta get control, all right? Wow. Because there's vice everywhere, and we have to make the decision about, okay, I have to consistently seek out virtue. So things like this podcast, you know, self-help books, reading the word, you know, going to church if you're spiritual, listening to the right music, putting things in our spirit that remind us of who we are, that remind us of whose we are, that remind us of where we're going. Because if we don't consistently nurture and feed ourselves virtue, that vice is, I mean, seriously, it's like junk food, man.
It's an attack.
It's going to
attack your body.
It's going to attack our body. It's going to attack our spirit. It's going to take us to a place we don't want to be. If you're in a situation where you're with somebody and you're not sure it's the right fit, here is the number one way to begin to identify if it is operating in lust or if you're operating in love. It's peace. You know, our peace.
You feel peace.
That's
inside.
right. Our peace is the strongest barometer. It's our compass.